Biggest thing I wanted to discuss on here is why do I care about the state of Nebraska so much, and why do I care about Nebraska football so much? And this is the part of the podcast that I've been struggling to find the words to say as I'm kind of, I'm making a little bit of an agenda what I want to discuss. And this is a big reason why I'm clicking record on this and going. Because I'm gonna get fired up and I'm gonna try not to get, too worked up. But biggest thing of why I care about the state of Nebraska so much is it honestly brings me back to a simpler time in my life, right? Back before I had any problems in my life. I used to live, it's where my whole family's from, is up in Nebraska. Um, and back before a lot of my memories from there, back before like I had a lot of my issues going on in my life, before I just like started to, this is gonna sound shitty, but like before I started to like hate myself a little bit, right? And going back up there brings me joy, right? And I know that is because like I don't live there. Like if I was there every day, it would be different. But like I've been here for so long and everyone around here knows me and knows, just knows my life. When I go up there, nobody looks at me as a screw up for a lot of the mistakes I've made, right? Nobody look no one looks at me by all the past things. I can just go walk into a store and see people, and I can go to Memorial Stadium and no one cares about any of the BS going on in my life, right? Everyone cares about the Nebraska Cornhuskers on the field. We're all rooting for a common cause to see them win. That's all we care about in that moment. When I go, I'm like I said, my whole family's up there. My family loves me and accepts me, right? They don't see me as a lot of, they don't see, well, they probably do, but they don't vocalize it, right? It's all positive vibes up there. Everyone just cares and loves and accept me. Um, One of the things I even like going into like a freaking restaurant or something up in like Omaha or Lincoln. Like, I mean, if you guys know me in real life, I can be a little bit of a loner sometimes. Like, I have trouble, this is gonna sound like little kid, but like, have trouble making friends or like keeping friends. Like, I'm just a weird guy. Like, I am. I'm self-aware enough to know I'm a weird guy. That's why I'm sitting here at 1:15 in the morning talking to my freaking phone. But I go up to Nebraska and walk into a restaurant or walk into a Memorial Stadium or walk wherever and just like, hey, wearing a shirt that has a Nebraska N on it and being surrounded by people, I have something in common with them. I don't even have to talk to these people, but just being surrounded by people that I know, like, I'm not crazy. Like, I have somebody that gets something about me, is really cool to me. And that's the feeling that I just can't replicate anywhere else. And I understand that if I lived in Nebraska all the time and not 4 hours away like I do now, or 3 hours away, whatever it is that I do now, like, yeah, I wouldn't feel that way. But, it'd just be another problem I have in my life. But one of the big things I have is like, I feel home in the state of Nebraska. I just feel home. I'm surrounded by people that love me if it's my family. I'm surrounded by people in Memorial Stadium that we're all rooting for the same thing, and they want what I want and I want what they want, and that's to watch these freaking Cornhuskers win some games. Um, and let's be real, I'll say like football has played a big part in my life of like giving me some sort of outlet or giving me a purpose. And the Nebraska Cornhusker football team has played a big part in giving me purpose. Football is a sport that I talk about a lot. I talk about it on here a lot. If you know me in real life, I talk about it all the time. When I coach middle school basketball, 90% of my references end up being like, oh, if we're on the football field, we're doing this. I talk about football all the time. I tell my wife, sadly, football was my first love, right? It's something I've been in love with since I was a kid. I'll say this without getting too sentimental. Like, the game of football gave me a purpose when I didn't really feel like I had one. And I don't want to say it saved my life, but man, it really gave me a purpose. And that's why I love coaching so much. And that's why I love talking football so much. All the life lessons that I can bring out through the sport of football is so big. Um, and I'll just say, like, my when I was like 16, 17, 18, 19, like, I was making a lot of mistakes in my life, right? I completely kind of the trajectory of my life kind of changed quite a bit. And I wasn't always super close with a lot of my family, but the one thing that I had in common that even if we hadn't talked in months, I could call up some my family and just be like, "Hey, man, how about the Cornhuskers this weekend? They sucked," or whatever it is. What do you think they're going to do this week? And that's something that I just feel so bonded. And I know that, like, no matter what happens in my life, this is going to sound stupid, but like, I can call somebody and ask about Nebraska and ask about the team, and that gives us something to talk about. And that's something that has given me a bond with so many of my family, and we had nothing else to discuss. So yes, I understand. I care about football and I care about Nebraska football way too much. But I'll tell you, at some points in my life, Nebraska football is all I freaking had. Okay, I have more than that now. I understand. I've got three beautiful kids. I've got a wife. Like, I understand I have more than that now. But at some points in my life, Nebraska football is all I had. Um, Nebraska football has given me a purpose. Sometimes I've been like, man, I don't know if life's worth living anymore. But you know what? Maybe if Nebraska wins this weekend, it'll boost my spirits, and that keeps me around till Saturday. And you guys think I'm being a little dramatic, but I am only half kidding on that. Like, hey, man, hey, we gotta get to Saturday, and who knows what happens? This whole thing may turn around. Um, it's one of the reasons, like, hey, Nebraska makes a bowl game this season, I'm getting the frickin' N tattooed right on my bicep. And that sounds crazy, but that's why. That's why it just means so much to me. And I know bowl game's a low expectation for some people, but I just want to have a reason. I could just do it now, but I want them to earn it. I want them to earn it for me, you know? Um, but yeah, that's part of why this podcast is turning into a Husker show. Um, but it makes Nebraska football, as stupidly as it sounds, is part of what makes me me, right? I have a lot of crazy things that make me me, but Nebraska football plays a big part of that. And that's partly why I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to talk about, whatever speaks to me. And right now, as I've sat through the last 2 weeks not doing an episode, this is what speaks to me, is talking about Nebraska and honestly just talking about my life. Did you enjoy that clip from the BA Coaches Show? Well, if you did, give us a like or a follow, subscribe, however you're watching this. Go check us out on all social media pages at the BA Coaches Show. We're talking all things Husker sports all the time. So check it out. Check out our podcast, check out our live streams, and go Big Red.